We are the nerds of the apocalypse.
Well, we're just going to make the transition right in. Is that cool? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, sir. I was wondering, when it comes to voice acting, is there a certain area you have to live in? Like, could you live like anywhere in the country, or do you have to live in certain areas?
It depends on what you want
We'll close
to do.
that in a few minutes.
So if you're interested in doing anime, most of it's being done out in Texas. There's some places here in North Carolina. And then Los Angeles, there was some that's being done up in Vancouver or whatever.
There we go.
Wow.
All right.
So for that, you do kind of have to live in those areas because you have to go to picture. We've done video games from our home studio with a studio in New York, and we've done. Bye guys.
Thanks for having you guys.
And we've done animation full-on series from our home studio too, that we recorded with a script that didn't have to go to picture. Pretty much, if it doesn't have to go to picture, you can do it from anywhere, really. And you can create your own stuff too. I think there's opportunities popping up everywhere. So I don't think you have to pack up and move. But if you're interested in doing anime, you kind of have to find those markets. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
There's some good studios around here in the South. I mean, we work out of North Carolina a lot, and there's a lot of different animation studios there now, probably now.
Speaking of those, do you know the names of those?
You have to do research. And I'm not holding anything from you. Honestly, we get scripts. We don't get the names of stuff. It's very rare. Honestly, agents who are sending them to you and people who are saying, "Come on in if you want. This is voice acting." If you're questioning, they don't want you to know because they don't want you to jump over them if you have representation. So they'll block it out of their script when they send it to you. Because they're the ones responsible. You've made an agreement with them that they're going to get you the jobs. Yes, sir.
Has there been any company you've worked with that you just didn't like them, like professionally? Like any companies you've worked with, other people?
There is a certain guy who used to do a lot of anime up until probably about 5 years ago.
Nope.
No. And he just...
I don't know what he's talking about.
He didn't really care about the quality. Super nice guy. Everybody in town has worked with him and loves him, and you can't help but love this guy. But he really wasn't concerned with the adaptation. So the scripts would be like really translated directly from Japanese and would make no sense. And he didn't care. He'd just throw it in the mouth and just go for it. And
But look where it left him.
right, and now he's not really doing it anymore. So I think
He lives in Atlanta.
as opposed to some of these companies that really wanted to fit in the mouth and really wanted to sound like the original language kind of was English. I think Bang Zoom's doing a great job with that. One of my favorite directors is Alex Von David, who did Toko, as I call it, Toko, and he's doing But his whole thing is he does all the adaptation, and he puts it in like total colloquialisms of modern day English, so an audience now can listen to it and go, wow, that's really cool. It just sounds like it was originally done in English, and loosens it up so it's not sounding like we are dubbing. Oh my gosh, come over here, Kayako. I will hold that sword for you. Now it's like, come over here, Kayako. I'll hold that sword. I mean, it's kind of sloppier, which makes it sound more realistic.
Adaptation.
Hello. There we go.
Do we need this?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, so adaptation is when they take the script from Japanese, they translate it first, then they adapt it to the mouth. So they're watching exactly the flaps that are going on in the anime. And then we have to get the words exactly to match the flaps. And sometimes the character will end on a, tell me what letter is, right? And so we have to change. You get really good at adapting. Also, you're like, that doesn't fit. You'll see beep 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 beep, that doesn't fit. It needs a P, or it needs an F, or it needs an H, right? So we'll rewrite it on the fly without changing the meaning of the script. And the directors are usually voice actors, and they'll be able to work that. The worst kind of script you can get is one that's not adapted well at all. And one of the ones that Grant was just talking about, who I figured out you were talking about, is that it would say like, what are you doing? How come you don't ... What, we don't know. Do we get writer's credit? Do we get paid for writing? What's ... That means we ran out of thoughts? Or, because ... in our language means keep the thought going as if, and,
but
you know.
Either cut off by somebody else talking over it, or it just kind of fades off.
Yeah.
Stop your thought.
But
Not stop, you have 5 more flaps to fill with some kind of language you're going to have to come up with on the fly.
yeah, exactly. Keep shooting out questions. Yes, sir.
Can I say hello to the lady walks you in case you know you?
Do you want her to talk? I have to remember that voice.
That's another thing where we talk about like you guys are fresh with this.
Charlie brings up an interesting point for us too. I'm going to use this because I have to be on the mic later for
work and auditions from the hotel room. So Charlie brings up an interesting point. You guys know our shows way better than we do. Do you understand why? We know our characters. We don't watch the shows before. We don't get them. We're only in the scenes. And it's really interesting because we get this question posed a lot as voice actor talent. I can, if I hear the voice, I can do it.
Oh, I got another question.
Okay, but you guys always know, like if you're into a show, way better than we do, because you're really watching the shows. And so you're hearing it, and it's really funny because people will ask us about specific episodes or why our characters made a certain choice, and we're like, we don't, did they? You know, we will know within the script, but we're only in there doing our parts. We don't ever, we may see the line that comes in before ours, but it's the director who's saying, hey Morgan, this is what's going on in the scene. Okay, and so you're really distraught. And you're distraught because your little brother is being taken away by the so-and-so group. And you're going to have to find a way to get them back. Okay?
Is it what means of entering the voice acting world out of radio or just audiobooks? What would you suggest?
Meaning, how do you get into voiceovers?
I mean, like the first step. Because I have the training.
You have voiceover training? Who have you trained with?
I have vocal training and acting.
Okay, so those two things, and I can tell because I can tell you have training, definitely for sure, and I can tell you don't have fear, which is great. You know, you already have a big step in, but you need voiceover training. Not vocal training, not acting training. Those things are just stepping stones, and they're wonderful stepping stones, so needed. I had acting training, I did it all, and I think it was just to be a better voiceover artist, you know, because that's all I kept coming back to that. But the way to start, and this is exactly how I started taking classes, and there's a lot of online classes. There's a lot of coaches who will start training online, and you could just do Skype or FaceTime. You know, the glory of modern technology, and you can take classes that way. The other thing is there's some really good books. Like my old favorite is Sue Blue's book, B-L-U. Sue Blue is one of the most famous voice talent and directors. She's retired now, so semi-retired, but she wrote a great book because it has exercises in it. So you could really like work through these exercises, and you do the exercises, and then you start putting stuff down, you know, with a really good mic, and you start getting it mixed professionally, and then you can start sending it out. Now there are these, what we call pay-to-play places that are online. I don't have many nice things to say about those. I think it's diluting our business, and I can tell you from a professional standpoint, what's happening to us as professional talent is that so many new people are coming in and they're saying, okay, yeah, we'll do that job for $50. And the people who are used to paying $350 for that job are like, wow, we can get somebody for $50? And then they paid that person $50, and Grant and I were redoing that. So many of our friends talk about that. We were at dinner one night at somebody's birthday, and we were talking about how much we're redoing stuff. We constantly hear, yeah, this is our second run through. Does that make sense? So you have to have the chops.
Pretty much, you're getting the lower price, but not the quality things that
You get exactly what you pay for, and then guess what happens to our budget, the budget they had for us originally, is that they say, well, we got to take $50 off yours because we paid somebody else. How is that my fault? Well, do you want the job or not? Yeah, I do. Okay, I'll do it for that price. So all of our prices over the last few years, the last 6 years, the last 8 years since the pay-to-play sites, are you guys know what pay-to-play sites are? Yeah, voice 1, 2, 3 voices where you pay and you're an automatic voiceover artist and you can audition as much as you want. And I say, really? And then we'll give you classes. Those places have such bad reputations in the voiceover business, it's insane. So, and people who are casting directors, if they know that you're on those, they don't even want to, they'll look you up. They don't even want to know that you're on those sites. Now, when we first came out, the smart thing for them to do was to go to the pros and say, look, we need your flavor on these, so will you be this? And we're thinking, yeah, man, this is the greatest thing, you know? It's around the country, you're going to get more people. I know a couple people who have auditioned through that, and one of my good friends probably makes her a greater portion of her living doing it, but she says she auditions 350 times every 2 weeks to get one job. So, I mean, there's some upsides to it for people who live out of major cities, but the major city thing is not so important anymore. Maybe for animation a little bit more. Yes, sir.
What's voiceover? I mean, is it like with the Japanese version? Do you try to get as close to the way they're doing it, or is it just their emotions in that part? I'm not sure exactly what voiceover.
Well, 2 questions there that deserve answering. You can do the Japanese part. Is that cool? Okay. So the first part is voiceover. Well, I mean, you guys are into anime and games and stuff like that, and so that would be a section. I was like, oh boy, I hope that's not mine. So that would be a section of voiceover. Does that make sense? That's a part of it. There's also voice for commercial, voice for toys, voice for industrial narrations for companies that you may work for, voices for University of South Carolina, you know, on phone voices. I'm the voice of BB&T if you call up, you know, hello, thanks for calling BB&T, you know, you've reached that thing. So that's online. You can do, there's so many different facets of voiceover that are out there. Grant and I are doing imaging for radio stations and stuff like that, where we're like, you're listening, these are the hottest hits. You know, that type of thing that you're hearing us in the morning. It's summer, you know what that means. Time to wake up to coffee and John, right? That type of thing. So that's the first end of it. There's all these different facets of what your voice goes over. Now, the second part of your question is Japanese anime.
Yeah, and definitely one thing when people watch the original Japanese, you know, they fall in love with that anime, and if they want to watch it again dubbed in English, they want to have the same experience that they did before. Our job is to honor the performances that were laid down, because they take such pride in their work over there in Japan to create these, you know, the voice for these, like we do for our original animation series. It's a performance. It's kind of locked into that performance as well. So once you see what's going on screen, you have to match that performance of what their Japanese actor did, and at the same time match the amount of flaps, which hopefully your adapter, the one who wrote the script, has matched for you. You're looking at time code. You're looking. I mean, things are all over the place. It's a really tough. Dubbing is probably one of the more tougher genres of the over-encapsulating voiceover industry. It is, because you have a script, it has time code on it, you're listening for the 3 beats, and you're going to speak on the 4th imaginary beat that you don't actually hear. You have your script, you're trying to memorize it so you can be looking at the screen at the same time and watching the lip flaps. You're also acting, matching the performance. So it's interesting, because we have some really talented voice actor friends that Jessica has brought in to direct on one of these, you know, on a couple of different series, and they just could not pull it off. They're like, I can't do it.
Yeah, anybody have ADD like me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a little, and so does Grant. Both of us do a little bit. Yeah, what we talking about? But we brought somebody in because who has intense ADD, and he's such a good actor, and he can do any voice, and he can put himself into any situation. I think my kid has a tummy ache, and so he is. We bring him in, and he has to. The script is here. You hear 3 beeps, and what you're watching is right here. And you have to get what's off the script. This is where your memorization, Morgan, would come in really well, where you memorize really well, where those of you with theatrical background, because you know how to memorize, I can't do that very well. I'm always scared of going up on my lines. And then you have to get it into the mouth. And sometimes they break it up where it's like 5 or 6 lines, like a paragraph, you have to know how to do. And so I just have a certain technique where I keep my hand exactly on the line. Like my finger on the line when I'm doing it. But then what are the characters moving or fighting or something like that, and you need your whole body. So it is a real skill, and it's a really cool one to learn. It's a real fun and real cool one to learn. We wanted to teach it here. We want to teach that workshop. So that's a really good workshop to have, which is dubbing and looping and walla and learning how to do the anime. You had another question, Charlie, that I wanted to come back to, because you said you have another one. Did you guys write it down?
No, not yet.
So before I do any voices, I will do them for you at the end.
Okay, no.
Okay?
No.
I won't.
But I actually have a question.
Yeah.
What inspired you to become part of the voice actor?
Really good question. So you weren't at our class yesterday, but I always mimicked and mocked people. It's called Schadenfreude. But I always was a mimic. Like I would intensely watch a person since I was little. I was 2 years old. I was sitting in a high chair, and I'll never forget this, at my parents' table. And this guy from England, my parents' friend, was there, and he had a fork. He was eating, and he had this very thick British accent. And I remember watching it, like being intense on his lips, watching his lips, and being like, "Whoa, what's going on there?" And I put a fork in my mouth. And I had this fork in my mouth, and I went, and my parents were humiliated, right? My parents were completely humiliated. And I just knew how to pick up certain characteristics of people, dogs, things. I would give characters to inanimate objects. Like anime was there for you, but inanimate objects were there for me. Like where and
airports and Sam's Club and
anywhere where I could watch people from far enough away. Grant and I will sit there and we'll be like just like across the way, having a burger or something, and there'll be 2 people we can't hear, but he'll be going, and Grant will go, "Dear, didn't I tell you I don't like blue?" "I know, honey, but so that will." And yesterday we were near the candy store near the Bluefin, and this lady was talking, and this guy gets out of the car, and we just hear him say, "I know, dear," with a very, very southern accent, and then she goes away to have a cigarette. And so, of course, naturally, I'm like, it's just becoming too much, this marriage. I can't handle it. And so I got inside her head and I started doing her voice. And you don't even realize that you're doing it. And of course, we're not always kind, but we try to be. But I mean, do you guys know the expression Schadenfreude? Like laughter at the expense of others, but like with all due respect, we try to do it respectfully, but we'll do 2 birds sitting, in front of a fountain. So that's the first part of that question, how did we get into it? I just was a really good mimic. My dad's best friend, who was my godfather, was a guy named Hal Smith, who was on the Andy Griffith Show. He would come and do voices for me one after the other at my dad's store. My dad had a soda fountain in his old store, and he would do voice after voice after voice after voice. And this went on from the time I was about 2 to the time I was, 11 or 12. Yeah, my dad sold when I was 13 and a half, so it went on all these years. And it would just be one voice after the other, and it was a voice I was hearing on TV. Can you imagine? There weren't so many cartoons on, there were like 5. And he was in every one of them. And so I'm watching Porky Pig and I'm watching Barney Rubble and I'm listening to these voices and I'm like mesmerized. And it's all I ever wanted to do. Now I took a different route, you know, and I went and became a broadcaster. I went and became a weather girl. To get on camera. I became a head of a news department. I'm even a marriage and family therapist now, just because I wanted to give back to the world, and that was my choice, my way of doing it. But that is, you know, we have exclusively made our livings exclusively on voiceover. So if I don't do marriage and family therapy, I don't need to do it. Does that make sense? So we make our livings doing voiceovers. So it's the only thing I ever knew. That's everything I came back to. But I went full-fledged at 15.
Nice.
Yeah. Join.
How did you get where you were on the Cure?
That was one of the first shows we ever did.
Yeah, I mean, like, how did that come about?
What?
How did that come about? I mean,
She was on the Cure?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, they were just pulling voice talent and people who were doing really good at dubbing. And there were 20 of us. And all 20 of us did that show. There were very few people who had ever dubbed before. I just got involved in that world, in the anime world, because I was looping for films and television, which is a background for films and television, and I was really good at getting sounds into people's mouths or creating characters around them.
See, it was crazy because during that time, the dubbing wasn't really that good, but when I saw the Kira dubbing,
it was great.
I was like, that's my first one, because usually I watch in Japanese. Yeah. But when I saw that, I was like, wow. I mean, it was really good.
They brought us in. We were actors, but we had been actors on films, and all of us had been in film, but we were doing the voices for films. And when we do voices for films, you guys, when you see extras in films, if they paid all those extras more than extra money, if they were heard talking, they would have to make the rates that the primary actors were making. So they don't like them. So they're taught, if you've been in films, you're taught to talk very softly. It's sotto voce, where you're just, you're talking to somebody in a restaurant. So they hire 8 of us or more to come in, sometimes 4 of us to come in and redo their voices. But a lot of times it's the police going, oh, and they don't have the guy mic, so Graham will get up and you hear beep, 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 and he goes, hold on! And he gets the voice in there, and you'd never know that it's dubbed, and you know about dub.
Oh, that's crazy.
You guys know about dubs, yeah. Yes. Van.
Oh, you remember my name, thank you. My question is, have you guys ever dealt with the original directors of the Japanese? Like, have there any big passion projects from the original directors coming to interfere with the American version?
No, it's not very common at all.
Because I've heard a few stories about them, a few anime series.
Bang Zoom is primarily run by Japanese people, and so whereas Funimation is not. But Bang Zoom it's Eric Sherman, who is married to Kayako Sherman, and Kayako really is strict about how things are pronounced and how things are said. So there are certain times when she really wants to stick close to it, but she may not be the original. But it's filtered through so many people by the time it gets there that they've just sold it to make the money to the distribution houses. So they don't care how it turns out on the other side. I'm sure they do, but they're not invested in it because they're not part of it anymore.
I think the main thing that gets a little tricky with the Japanese is some of the cultural things that we may not understand in the Western world. That has to somehow be communicated. Like, we worked on a series called Return of the Pearl Princess or something like that, and there's so much
Chinese series.
It's Chinese in that case, yeah. There's so much about their traditions, especially in feudal times or whatever dynasty we were dealing with, that we wouldn't understand. You don't speak to your uncle this way, you would call him this. So maintaining
Van was
that.
there, a guy named Van.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was there the whole series. He came out from China. But speaks great, and then there was an interpreter. He didn't need it, but because he was perfect. But he had explained everything to us.
Yeah, so I think that's the only thing where it gets tricky, where they want to make sure that thematically or story-wise, it still carries over with the traditional.
And if you guys know Wendy Lee, she was the director of that show. Really great. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I missed you before.
How do you know you're ready to take the plunge from being from part-time voice acting to trying to do it as your main skill?
I mean, Jessica's been in the industry for more than 35 years and done this exclusively, but as we were talking about those voiceover companies that the pay-to-plays, it's making it harder and harder every year to do exclusively this. And it's stressful too, because anytime you're into any kind of arts, or it's not a stable source of income. We work for so many different companies that are paying from different parts of the country and pay faster, some pay super slow. I mean, you just don't, it's not like you show up on Friday and pick up your paycheck. So you really should have some kind of...
I hate this question, and I'm sorry, I don't hate anything, but this question, I do not like that when I have to answer this, because I don't like having to give the answer. If you had asked me this 15 years ago, I would say I would have a real answer for you. A real answer, like on how to take that plunge. But because of those pay-to-play places, they've diluted our business so much with people who are not ready. And everybody, you set up a mic, and it's a quirky mic that you buy at, a guitar store for $25, and you're putting stuff on commercials, and then you go into a studio. And I came up before we got here. I needed to make contact with the studio, so I called Gem Studios in Columbia. And he, the guy was one of the nicest people I've ever talked to. And I'm like, "What happened to your ISDN?" Now, he's like, "No, ma'am, we don't have that anymore." And I said, "Why not?" Now, ISDN is the way that we work. It's a box that goes into our house, but we're being recorded at another studio. So it's just a way of, it's a telecommunication box where we're able to be recorded in anywhere around the world if they have the same kind of system that we have. So our voices come out perfectly clear. And he said he did away with it because just everybody's going home and doing their stuff now. Yeah, so it's hurting. It's hurting those businesses. And in Hollywood, or in North Hollywood, where most of the studios are, but everybody thinks they're in Hollywood, they're not. In North Hollywood, our studio row, which is like studio, for every movie, everything closed down. Everything closed down. It was like a ghost town where people were paying, I don't know, $1,800 for a 6x6 room for editing. Now they were offering them for like $300 for the week, or $200 for the week, and you could go and have this beautiful studio and stuff like that. But it started to look like a ghost town. It's just starting to come back. People have had to figure out a way to reinvent themselves. So full-time, no such thing anymore. Full-time, voiceover, no such thing. You don't open at 9 and close at 5. It's not a candy store. But can you make some good money doing this? Yes. You always should have a backup. That's the part I don't like saying. You need to have something else that brings you solid money. Because there are weeks that I don't have but 1 or 2 jobs. And then the following week, I'll have 13. Both of us. So we both have backups. Now we do, but I had to wait until I was, in my 40s to decide to do that.
And one more question. What would you recommend as the first microphone that you get that's cost effective and also has quality enough to be go back to if I need to when I purchase more higher quality microphones for video?
Yeah, I mean, the best ones are very expensive. Something is more than $1,000.
Yeah, ours is a $2,000 mic.
You really don't need to spend that yet, but you do need to have something that's quality, and it really depends on your voice.
Yeah, our $2,000 mic for everybody isn't great. It's not great. I like our Gorilla mic on you. Yeah. But Grant and I work on a Neumann, which is a TLM 103. TLM 102s are good starter mics. But here's the thing you want to do. You want to go into a place. Do you have a Guitar Center here?
Yeah.
Okay, somewhere close by. You want to go into Guitar Center because they sell the mics. You want to go into their isolation room. You want to bring copy after copy. You want to bring animation copy. You want to bring, sorry, somebody's trying to get me. You want to bring animation copy. You want to bring commercial copy. You want to bring narration copy. And you want to play it. You want to be able to listen back. So you record yourself in their ISO booth, and you hear which one sounds good. A couple of years ago, everybody was buying that microphone called the Blue. It's a ball, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's the worst microphone I've ever heard in my entire life. Most studios prefer the Neumann, right?
Yeah, Neumann.
AKGs, Shores. Yeah, we to travel, we had bought the Apogee because that's what everybody was talking about. It's okay. It's clean. It's a little travel mic. It's cute. It's $200. You can set it up anywhere. It goes right into your laptop or your desktop, and it's a great one to practice on. But for this time, because we have real jobs that have to get done like tonight, that we have to have in by tomorrow morning, and we have to do it from a hotel room where you're going to have sound and outside sound. We have this ball that goes over our mic, and you stick your mic up into it, and it's this big ball. And we tested it before we left. We brought our baby board. We have a board, Tascam or Behringer board, and our full-on regular mic. We used to bring the Apogee to do jobs, but people were like, it doesn't sound quite as good, you know?
Yeah, you want to make sure that you get the full range of your voice, because you have a similar voice to mine, where you want to be able to get the higher. You don't want it to be so bassy that it all sounds like this.
And you don't want something that's really tinny so that it's not getting that lower end of your voice.
Jessica has like a really, yeah, I can hear the difference if she's on a different mic too, because there's a low end to it and a high end that makes her voice what it is. So it's tricky, and you're not necessarily the best judge of your own voice if you haven't listened to yourself 1,000 times.
But you'll know what you like and how clean it is and what it sounds like. So you have to test different mics. That's a long way around your question, but test.
But don't spend $1,000 yet.
Yeah, rent.
I was looking more of what brands to stay away from. You answered that. Blue.
I just don't like the blue mic. The studios don't like the blue mic. I just think it makes everybody sound like they're underwater.
Yeah, I think if you go a Neumann, which is spelled Newman or whatever, Neumann, and Sennheiser's AKGs.
By the way, we pick up everything on Craigslist or eBay now. Everything. Because so many studios have closed that you could really pick up some good stuff. Just people want to unload it fast because it'll bring them money.
Yes.
Do you guys hang out with other voice actors? Do you guys I don't know, whenever you're working on something, do you spend time with other voice talent?
Yeah, it used to be more. Now we kind of just pass each other and we don't, but not so much on anime at all. Because you're in there by yourself and you come out of the booth and you say hi to whoever it is, and you can tell who was in the booth before, because the mic stand up here, it's Richard Epcar, if it's down here, it's Stephanie Shea. And they're always leaving little notes to you anyway before we got to the iPad. But when we're working on original animation and it's ensemble work, which means everybody's on different mics at the same time, which is the best.
It's the best because you feed off each other's energy.
Yeah, it's like doing a radio drama or whatever. I mean, you're talking to a real person. Then you have your little breaks where you can sit out in the lobby and eat.
But do we know everybody? Oh yeah, and we hold our group very, you know how they say voice of the anime world's this big, it's hard to break into, and you always hear it's very hard to break into. That's because all of us are holding it very tightly. But we all love and care about one another, and we've all been doing this for a really long time, and we all have an incredible respect for one another. One of the things you don't see, you see cattiness, but it's quiet, but one of the things you don't see is enemies or anything. We are tight. We're tight. Now, if you ask Funimation versus the California group, they would not say the same thing. Because they're getting really famous for doing those voices in Dallas, right? And they know that we've been doing it for a long time, and so we're scratch your eyes out, we want it back. But we're not like that. We're not like that. So when we got to Dallas, we thought, oh, it's Southern, we're going to be coming out of California, it's going to be an incredibly warm reception.
Like here, so.
In South Carolina, yeah.
Everybody's super nice.
Everybody's so tranquila here, but we had not a good reception at all. They did not want the Californians at all. They sat on opposite ends of the table. They would not participate in our roulette game. They would be, they just, we got it, but we didn't know going in that that's the way that they felt. And I wish I did, because then I would have positioned it differently, but I'm friends, I'm friends with everybody. Yes. Yeah, well, Charlie, let's get Charlie's question.
Hey, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Good, sir. What is your favorite character voice act?
Like the favorite voice?
Yeah.
Or favorite character?
Favorite character voice of all time. What's your
Probably the most fun was one from a movie called Thunder in the House of Magic, which was I played the bad guy in that. It was just over the top. Plus he was allergic to cats, so he's sneezing, he's screaming, he's being sort of like a little Viking guy that you guys have, where he's just wants it his way.
What was his name?
His name is Daniel. So he was the nephew of the magician in that movie. And I just, anytime you get the freedom, see the thing about anime is that it kind of restricts you. You have to match the performance, as we were talking about. It's already locked in what you see. With original animation, you're free to go and do whatever you want to some degree. Don't overwrite the writers, but to have that freedom and to be able to kind of add your own ideas and be quirky and random is the best job of all. So I think that job gave me that freedom. Yes, Van.
Something I mentioned yesterday, something like Danganronpa, where most of the visuals are just photos and there's no voice acting. How constrictive is the script on a series like that? Like game, I know you were in Fire Emblem Awakening, like just similar things like that, things where you don't have to match the lips. How constrictive are the voices?
It's a lot less, which is good. Especially if it's just a little, caption that comes up and you read it and it's just your voice over it or the mouth not actually moving.
Not on those.
You have a lot more freedom.
Those are all on like an Asus or iPad screen, and you're going from that's a double-edged answer. And the reason why is because, the core question, because you just have your lines in a row, so we really have to rely on the director to tell us what's going on, and you have to have a really good director who's telling you like how to deliver that line, because you have no clue.
Context.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So we're restricted in the sense that we don't have the context. Does that make sense? So if the director has the storyline and knows what's going on in that scene and they're giving it to you, and directors that work all the time are really good at that.
But games like Disgaea or something where the character pops up, or they're on screen and then the little caption comes up with all the words on there and they don't move their mouth, those we have like total freedom to. It has to match a certain timing, but for the most part, the delivery, we can do our own interpretation of.
There's a new show that's, is it Nickelodeon? Yeah, it's Ladybug.
Yeah, Miraculous.
Miraculous?
Oh,
Yeah, we call it Ladybug, yeah. And it's becoming really popular, and it was so fun to be at a con this time and see that it's becoming popular, because we got a lot of autographs for that one yesterday, and it's kind of cool, and Grant and I are both on that. Not major parts, but good parts, like fun parts. And that's all out of France. And the French have a whole different way of dubbing. So you dub to picture, but they do it so that you don't have to look down at the line and then try to get into the mouth. The line's going across the screen.
There's like a red line in the middle. So as that line gets to that red line, that's where you start your line. There's no beeps. So it's scrolling across, and it's in cursive writing. And if the cursive gets tighter, that means you're speeding up that little part of the word, and then as it starts to stretch out, it means it's going slower. It's really cool. And it's like,
You know that's specific to Dubbing Brothers? That's their method that they created.
Really?
That? Yeah.
This is a really stupid and selfish question.
There are no stupid selfish, but we love them.
It has to do with the last question I asked, how you hang out with voice actors. I was wondering if you knew. I love both of your voices. My favorite voice talent.
It's both about our voices? No, I'm just kidding.
I was wondering if either of you knew Karen Strassman and if she was hecka cheese, and I love her voice.
Karen's an old friend of mine. Yeah, Karen is phenomenal. I met her when she moved from France, and she lived in France for many years, and long time ago. And Karen is more of an on-camera person these days. So you'll see her. Have you seen her in a lot of different shows?
No.
Get on her Facebook page.
Will do.
Yeah, because she's a phenomenal on-camera actress. She's an intense actress. She's a lovely person. Do we hang with her? No, Karen's quiet. Karen's kind of a quiet, shy, into her own thing. But Grant and I are also too. You know, we have a lot of like, we're family people, and she is kind of also. But yeah, she's really cool.
Out of all of the different venues of voice acting, what was your favorite to actually work in? Like commercials?
Animation. Both of us.
Animation, and everybody knows it. Every single person who knows us knows it. Because that's what we book all the time, you know. And they know that they can push us in characters. So a lot of times we don't have to audition, we'll just get hired for stuff, but you know, because they'll pigeonhole us and go, oh, you know, we can pull this, they can pull that particular job off. Yeah, but animation, come on, we're kids, man. You know, you're kids, you want to play, you want to do stuff that's going to be fun for people, and I think it has the biggest subculture and the biggest groups of followers, you know. Obviously, look at where we are right now. It creates an entire culture. No other genre does that. No other genre. None of us are into commercials. Not I am, because I have to listen to everybody who beat me out of the job.
Commercial con next week.
Is there one?
No.
Yeah, we just go.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. That's your next con.
Yeah.
Has there been any jobs in particular that you hated doing? Like any anime series or game or anything that you just hated doing?
Sometimes there's love-hate. Like, I worked on a game called World of Warcraft, like Cataclysm. There's a character called Cho'Gall. It's this two-headed boss or whatever that you gotta get by. And he did that with Terrence Stone. Yeah, Terrence Stone is the makes all the quips, and my character is the one who's like, we must kill them! And that was the one when I talked about working for a 4-hour session, maintaining that character. That almost killed me, and that literally left scars on my throat.
I was really worried with him doing that, because as soon as he saw it and it come down the line again for another booking, that he had gotten laryngitis so badly. Well, Grant's our provider. So, and I am too. And these days, our 9-year-old is pretty much our provider. But it is, when that stuff comes down, that in the last year has become a real issue in Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA. They will not let people work on vocally stressful jobs. Do you guys know who Bob Bergen is? He's a very famous voice talent guy. Porky Pig. The old Porky Pig, because Hal had it first. So, but he started saying, no way are we going to go do these jobs. We have been in jobs where people have been like, I'm out, I'm not doing this because tomorrow I have an animation, or tomorrow I have to do this, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to hit the highs or even go to the lows because I'm going to lose my voice.
Especially Medal of Honor games, that type of stuff. You're screaming, fire in the hole, and for like 4 hours. Yeah, Diablo.
My throat was bleeding. And I'm kind, so I don't say anything, but I've gotten a little bit more ballsy about it, where I'm like, this is killing my voice. But I'm down at Blizzard on their campus, and I'm sort of like in nerd land, I'm like geeking out. I'm like on their campus, and I'm seeing how everything's done, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. They didn't care. They were like, oh, have some honey.
They are very kind with providing this gigantic kit of everything from Singer's Choice to, honey to this crazy Chinese one that we like. And they bring this whole thing. So they are concerned and kind.
But they want you to get
They still want their character.
I had, I guess, part 2 to that real quick.
Yeah.
Was there any jobs you walked out on because of that, I guess? Like, because of being too stressful?
No, I don't think we walked out, but I can think of the job talking about the looping that we do, the background stuff for movies. One job that Jessica was working on where the director shows up and he's just this tyrant, just, you know, it shuts everybody down and you're not going to get a good performance. And that was like within the first 15 minutes, this Robert Allen Ackerman or whatever his name was, just came in there and just, you know, lambasted everybody and made everybody know that he was going to run the show and this is how it was going to go, and everyone just clammed up and he got very little performance out of people. So I don't think we've ever walked out of a job. We've turned jobs down or said, you know, we have to set it on Friday, or said, I don't know, you know, sometimes I just don't audition for those anymore. So, you know, people do let you know this is going to be vocally stressful. I did another character called Emmett, who's in.
And you can't now on vocally stressful. Pardon me. On vocally stressful jobs, you can't go past 2 hours. So they have, right? We used to go 4. They have to go 2. And then be done. And then they can't book you the next day. They have to book you at the end of the week or a week later.
Is that because of unions now?
Yeah.
And non-union will follow the same rule.
Right. And that game evolved. The character was supposed to be like the, what's that, Baymax or whatever from Big Hero 6. And, you know, it's like, hi, I am here to help you, and I will rip your throat. Like, he flips into this crazy voice. So they would record, Luigi! They would record all the nice, friendly stuff, and then add a couple of the really screaming lines at the end of that session, and have me back 2 weeks later, and then try to get to a little bit more of the screaming. So they kind of broke it up rather than all in one thing.
Yeah, I've never walked out on a job.
Super stressful like that?
I'm a trooper.
We've seen it happen. We did when they did Dawn of the Dead. Which was ridiculous.
Can you close that? Do you mind?
That was they wanted to get, that was also for the wall, all the sound effects, the zombies and stuff like that. So
but they hire cartoon people to do that. They hire animation people to do that because we have to be zombies, so we know how to go into character. Because people who just do commercials or do narrations, they don't know how to push it.
Yeah, and it really goes back to playing, you know, as you did as a kid. But they had us on a soundstage, literally a soundstage on Universal.
That was 4 times the size of this room.
That they hadn't swept before, so there was still like nails and staples
Pins.
and all kinds
Pins
of
from the
stuff.
wardrobe.
They needed us in our socks because we couldn't make sounds with our shoes. And they were going in and out with us with this telescopic type of microphone, and you know, have some of the best animation people running around. You know. It was just ridiculous, and there was one actor who is very successful in voice acting, and he was like, no, I can't do this anymore. And we were like 2 hours into it, and everyone else is like, we're hired for a job, this is what it is, we're going to get through it, and we'll take care of our voices as we do it, but you don't really just sit down and say,
It made him look terrible.
And that's all I think about of him from this point on.
I mean, how many years that Tony's been dead? Our friend died
It
from
wasn't
that
Tony
job.
who did that,
Yeah. But we're convinced that gave him a heart attack because it was such a stressful job, such an incredible job, and it was in bad weather. And it was hurt. It probably hurt him to run that much, and it was just probably not good. So, but he never sat out. He was a trooper. But you know, that's what we remember about that guy. What a prima donna. However, I totally understand what he's doing. He had to work and his livelihood, and he's providing for a family, and you know, he's in big series that pay him the same amount he's making all day for that. He's making it in an hour the next day. And he has a long relationship with people at Disney or a long relationship with people at the other studios. He doesn't want to jeopardize that relationship. So I had a sinus infection a couple weeks ago. It lasted for almost 5 weeks. It put my voice completely out of commission because I was like this. You know how many people were angry at me? They weren't like sympathetic. They were angry. They were really angry. Like, where's my stuff? I'm like, here you go. Here's your stuff. I had to audition. With that voice, with a Polish accent, by the way. So full-on Polish accent. They didn't care. They're like, we know what kind of acting you can do. We just want to hear it. We want to hear you come through on this, so we know what your regular voice sounds like. But I was embarrassed.
And our job is to kind of rise to the occasion and kind of get over that if you can, because you know there's a lot riding on it. People are waiting, or you know, people have put thousands of dollars down. I got sent home from a job. I showed up to Adventures to do some ADR. She's like, no, it doesn't match. you know, I can't use you because I have partial laryngitis. Come back a different day. So what can you do? They weren't mad. They just get well. We gotta get it done. Anybody else? Still got a good 5 still minutes.
So we love when people throw out fire round questions. So everybody comes up with a question. We just go down the line, and it could be about anything.
It could be random. It could be what kind of ice cream. It could be anything. What's your favorite kind of dog? I don't care. Throw it out.
Throw it out. Go for it. When you get, you don't even have to raise your hand. Go for it.
Oh no. This is
Which one are you
turning.
turning faster?
Grant, our 9-year-old.
Have you two worked together?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're in a couple things together, in a couple projects now too. He's a bee and I'm a butterfly. We do a lot of commercials in the South together, so you guys will hear
Husband
and wife teams. We're known as we're known and have been known as America's #1 husband and wife voiceover team. So when they want a real husband and wife, they stick us together, and we'll do like full-on campaigns, Wells Fargo Bank and stuff like that. Yeah, there's something about chemistry that's unmatched if you stick two people together who don't know one another, you know, or rather than sticking two people together. So we love those because we are real funny with one another.
Speaking of which,
Charlie,
Oh, I had that question and now something.
that's okay. No problem.
Flew.
That's okay. Anybody else?
Hogwarts, what house?
what was that?
Hogwarts, what
Oh yes, I do have the answer to that. So there was what's the top house?
Okay, no.
The best one.
That depends on who you want.
Okay, so I just did it a couple weeks ago, and I was my 14-year-old best friend said to me, "No fair! I don't believe you have that one. You're a so-and-so." And I'm like, "Oh, is that a good one?" It was like the best one. I'll have to text her.
There's Slytherin, there's something up there. It was probably
You seem like a Gryffindor.
Yeah, that's what I was. And she's like, "No fair."
That's the one Harry's in.
Okay, yeah, that's what she said. That she's like, "No," she was really angry at me. So she's like, "And goodbye." Got back into her mom's car.
Okay, yes, came back.
Yeah. What are you? Do you know what house you're in, kid?
Slytherin.
Okay.
I took the test.
Oh, okay. You took the test. All right. So our 9-year-old has quite a voiceover career going these days, and part of that is that he's a really good reader. But we waited, but he's a genuine 9-year-old, so people like that because they really want that genuine sound. He loves it because he gets to be pulled out of school, and yeah, it's tough.
What series is he in?
Well, he does a show called GVE, which is an educational series right now that he's doing, where he's been doing it since he was 7. And his voice hasn't changed that much. And then he did an Australian one, which we're waiting to come out, where he played a sheep.
Yeah, it was like a pilot for Disney.
Yeah, and he does a lot of commercials too. So, and he's auditioning all the time, and auditioning tonight for Captain Underpants. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you work in SAN, right? Was that TV?
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Bryce Patrick?
Well, yeah, actually, Jessica knew directed him. He's been a family friend for a long
So Bryce's dad and I met at a dog park, Bob Pappenbrook. You ever heard of Bob? Bob was...
Oh, you recognize Bob.
Yeah, do you have General Insurance? Call the General. Okay. So he was not anymore. He was the military guy. And Bob Pappenbrook we were at a dog park at like 6 o'clock in the morning. No one else was there. And I was like, this guy's voice is barrel-chested. It's Bryce's dad. Barrel-chested guy. I'm like, man, you should do voiceovers. He's like, I do. That's how I make my living. You know? And I'm like, oh, cool. My name's Jessica. And we became fast and furious friends. Well, Bob's a tough guy. Bob passed away, unfortunately, and not great causes. And Bryce is a real cool kid, but I brought him in. He was in my first series that I directed at Sony the Kids WB. Fantastic Investigators.
That was really
Bryce
cool.
was my kid. Yeah, now we saw Bryce last week, and Bryce is married with a baby and just got back from Armageddon, I think. Yeah. Super nice.
Super nice.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's an amazing fighter too. He's a mixed martial artist fighter. He's been since he was 2 or 3 years old. His dad was really big, and Bryce isn't. We know his mom too. We saw her like fluttering through the park one day. She runs a ferry. She lives in cool fantasy world, and she runs a party ferry business. And
So all these kids following this little ferry through the woods.
But I've known Bryce since he was 8 or 7, and so now he's in his late 20s. Yeah, and he was one of the best kids, and he just was always a really quiet, respectful kid, and he's just big blue eyes. He's gorgeous, and he's just you love this guy. You just love him. He's just the sweetest kid. Always has been. I'm so glad that he's following in his dad's footsteps. He's got it together.
Any series that are coming up that you've been doing that you might give us a little spoiler for?
Dumped down to Netflix again. A lot of stuff is going straight to Netflix now. You have stuff? Otter Snakes and Gumballs. That will be coming. It was supposed to be on in June, so they're pushing. The English company is pushing for it to come on. It is so beautifully animated, and if you're into the art of animation, it's so well done. But all of us who do anime are in it. They hired all of us. So it's the anime crowd doing this new stuff. So much of the anime is going to Texas that we're doing like this incredible stuff. That's really beautiful. Zach Storm.
Yeah, that's one.
Zach Storm's supposed to be at the end of the year, and that's an English one. Also, that's come down. That's really, really, really well done. I'm trying to think. That also has anime people in it.
Do you know the series K?
I think I might be
Yeah, that's coming back.
Yeah, and a couple of them that I can't talk about yet, but yeah, it's quiet season right now. Everybody's in hiatus, so but there's stuff that it'll pop back up.
When should we expect to hear you guys more?
Always.
Always.
Yeah, hopefully always.
Well, it goes back to all those different genres of voiceover that, we're in so many different things that you could hear it, like the radio imaging, Jessica has stations, and so do I now around the country, so we didn't really know what cities we're in all the time. And trailers and promos for TV and commercials.
And we're the old-fashioned ones, so we have Facebook, we also do Instagram and everything like that. So just a voiceover dynamic duo, friend us on that, and then we'll tout stuff.
Actually, one thing we're touting right now is, one of the questions that comes around is, have you ever used your voices for something other than voiceover? And I'm like, oh yeah. What we do is we when you can opt out and not have telemarketers call you, well, we never do that. So we do have telemarketers that call us. And so as soon as we see that it's a telemarketing call, boom, we hit the record button, go into the studio with a speakerphone, and give each other a character to play with, and just go. And you have to try. The goal is to keep the people on the phone as long as you can. I think our record has been 45 minutes. We have one guy going who was trying to sell timeshares or something like that out in who knows where. And we had to, at the point that we finished, the story was that we were into that religion with rattlesnakes, snake religion. We sold him on that, trying to get him converted. She was my wife, but I was also her youngest son. And she had 5 kids, and somehow I was my own grandpa with the whole lineage of whatever it was. And by that time, he's like, ma'am, I have to let you go. They've already turned the lights off. I'm alone in the dark. And and then we've been doing a lot recently.
So how many do we have left? It's on YouTube. And you can just look us up again, Voiceover Dynamic Duo. And it's called You Called Us.
So there's probably about 9 up there right now.
And we add more and more as they come in. We probably have 4 or 5 more we have to edit and put on. But it's really, we're not raunchy in it, but we're wrong. So just be prepared to be very, do not judge us on that. It's part of our fun. I kept somebody on the other day for
22 minutes?
22 minutes.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and I made her repeat everything she was saying.
Or interrupt them, or we did Siri where it was I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you
please state your name again? I'm sorry. Please state your name
And they're
again.
like, yeah, this is Ryan from Look. I'm sorry, what was that name again?
Please state
This
your name
is
again.
I'm sorry, what was like, but not let him talk. And some of these things we've done where we've had like ambulances going in the background, gunshots, or like we'll
That was
do
the
sound
last
effects
one.
in the background. And this little girl like, oh, they're shooting again outside. Okay, well, if we can get back to our call here, what I'm saying is, like, they don't care what's going on in your life. They still want to sell you this stuff or
She was
get you
asking
a
me
survey.
if I was going to vote for Trump, and I'm like, I'm 11, right? And I'm doing this, I'm like, I'm 11 years old. And she's like, you going to vote for Trump? I'm like, Trump! She wouldn't get off the phone, so she just, and I just kept going,
And she would
the
ask,
whole
like,
time.
how likely would you say you're going to vote for Mr. Trump? Very likely, sort of likely, or are you fully, your decision is made? I don't know what it was. I'm like, well, maybe, yes, no.
Wait.
Can I check my
Yes.
You can
Okay,
just see
no.
her, like, clicking the box that she's supposed to do for a survey, like, oh, okay, click, no, now she's saying,
So that one hasn't gone up yet, but we'll edit that in the next couple of weeks. So it's pretty funny. They're really awesome. It's called You Called Us. We've been doing this for years, but we finally started. And Grant will be playing like circus music in the background, or right. I think I was an African queen. I was on the African Queen and the Kentucky Derby started, right? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm standing out in the middle of the freeway with no shoes. Hold on, the horses are going by, because I'm hearing the Kentucky Derby playing in the background. It's random.
and you're like, we are poachers, we have to pull the tail of the elephant in order for it to make that sound, and it's like chimpanzee, whatever I can find randomly on my.
I have chimpanzees. Do you like chimpanzees?
Their hands make very nice ashtrays.
Right.
I don't know.
And she's
I don't
like,
get that.
yes, ma'am, but I need to get back to my questions. Okay, hold on for 1 second. My husband's sick, and you hear in the background.
That's some sound effect of a guy throwing up.
It's very
They
funny.
don't care. It's right back to
Yeah.
you. Yes.
My last question related to that is, has any telemarketer recognized you guys?
No, they're all from the Philippines.
They're always named Ryan, and they're always from the Philippines. I think that's just their default name.
Never. Yeah,
So
no.
no one from the States or
No.
I have seen some strange things online, like, oh my gosh, is that Gen Shishio from Keikaishi doing the toenail fungus commercial or something? Like they'll recognize our voices from some commercial we've done, and they can't accept the fact that it could be this character.
It was Mario Lopez toenail fungus commercials that were out. Like,
Cool.
cool. All right. Any last burning
last
questions?
burning question?
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite character you enjoy voice acting?
You better say Washu.
Washu. You know what? I love playing Zhurong. And I love playing all the tough characters. I love the ones that have story value, like stuff I did for the Women's World Wrestling. Some of those have like great story values. It's hard though, because I love ones that have great animation. And I'm such an artist that I love the artwork. And when it's beautifully done, I just have such amazing responses to that. Like it just prompts me to be that much better, to go along with such beautiful artwork, too. I mean, not that I go in saying I'm going to give them a fair job, but when your voice.
Snipes is beautiful.
Father
That's
Snipes
like
is my
Pixar.
favorite right now. Yeah, and it might be a little out of the genre of stuff that you like, but it's. I mean, as long as you know that the voice actors that do anime are in it, then you'll like it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
what is the ultimate question?
What's the ultimate question?
Yes. The ultimate answer to the ultimate question is what it said.
Is what?
No, it's 42. 42, excuse me. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Gotcha.
Got it.
What is
What is the ultimate? Yeah.
What is 6 times 7? Is that 42?
Okay. And any last minutes?
Yeah.
Did Leon do anything wrong?
Aww.
Some people are in the Leon did nothing wrong camp. Now I'm in the Leon did nothing wrong asterisk. He made some difficult choices, but I mean it was Leon did nothing wrong asterisk.
You shouldn't have gone first.
That's all I can say. Yep.
He was just defending himself.
Right. What about Sakura Ogami? Did she do anything wrong?
But that also, I had another kind of question. Do you ever get? I think this question might have been asked before.
Emotional.
Whenever you get connected to the characters and something bad happens to them, you get emotional, like Sakura's suicide or Leon's baseball.
Yeah. Not so much in that game. That was hard because we're going kind of beat by beat. But when you were talking about Kekkaishi, that was one where, it's sad when they get killed off. Or the Lancer.
Do we cry? Are you asking that question? Yes.
And sometimes that's the only time I go back and watch something that I've done, like Lancer's death and Big Zero. Like, I wanted to see how that came out. Because, when you're there, I work it. I don't like to fake it. So I want to make sure that it came out. And I actually got goosebumps from my own performance, which was cool. So I'm like, wow, all right, good.
Any sadness over Shinji's death from Persona 3?
He was distraught for like 3 weeks. I couldn't talk to him. Therapy, everything. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I played that game yesterday, and then just Shinji, I played through Shinji's death again, and it's just so hard.
It is.
Yeah,
it is
really
hard.
Breaking.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah, people really connect with certain characters. It's interesting.
We do put our hearts and souls into our characters. So we really there are some people who just phone it in, but you know the storyline, you're really dying. Yeah, we had a big joke because this guy that hired us always hired me for the ones that got killed off. I'm like, I know how many shows am I going to be in before I die, so I can look forward to it. He's like, yeah, you died again. But I'm like, can I just come back to life? Can I just play a role that doesn't die? Can I do one that doesn't die? So we always laugh about that.
Yeah, it is emotional because you do get connected to these characters, especially when you have a lot of time with them in a series to kind of get to know their stories and what they've been through and what they're fighting for. And of course, what is the reason for not wanting to die in that moment? What try to keep them alive? So, any others? Thank you guys very much.
Great job all the way through,
with
from
us.
character class to to this stuff. Fun to answer questions. And we're going to be doing autographs, and that people come in and out for the next hour. So. And
then the hour after that, we have a thing called voice actor roulette.
That is funny.
That's hysterical. So what that is we're taking scenes everybody knows. Some are from anime, some are from popular movies, some are from fairy tales. Taking out the voices that you would expect to hear in those characters, drawing some and plugging them in. So we'll be doing some, you'll be doing some. If you want to join us for that, it's hysterical.
And we never know what we're going to pick, so they're all random for us. And
Any examples?